Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today. This is my number 9 most mysterious site in Egypt. And today we are going down to Meidum. This is located down near the Fayum region. Here is a look at what they call the Meidum Pyramid. And to me, we have a couple different phases of construction, obviously here. But this was perfectly aligned to the cardinal points. And we have a causeway perfectly aligned to the east going down to the old Nile River. If we just back out here, let me just mention a couple things. Now here is where the Meidum Pyramid is, and what I noticed about this is you notice this green area up here comes around, and down below here, I think this very well could have been an island a long time ago. And here's the pyramid, and this area down here just looks like it very well could be an ancient harbor. And if you watch some of my Giza videos, you know I think there's harbors. And Giza was once an island, but here, this just looks like an old harbor. Now, farmland in here today. But from overhead here, you can see a few things. You can see what clearly is a more modern tower. And that's just the way it appears. Maybe I'm not looking at this right, but then you can see what appears to be a more ancient mound here, or original structure maybe. Now this place is obviously very unique as far as places we call pyramids in Egypt. We seem to have an older buried structure down here with a lot still under the sand. There are casing stones down here. And then we have what appears to be a more modern tower built right on top. 2 steps evident with a third probably destroyed here at the top. How many phases of building are here? What was here originally? This just appears to be very unique and mysterious to me. Well, let's look at a few more pics here. What appears to be a buried original lower part, and then something that was constructed by the dynastic Egyptians up top here. And I think with the smooth facing and the way this is designed, this was totally meant to be on the outside here. There was never a pyramid meant to be at the top of here. That's just my opinion. Here's what Egyptologists theorize this place was, or meant to be a true pyramid coming up this way, but clearly the bottom is an older structure here, and that's where all the shafts and chambers are. Let's take a look a little further here. Here you see the mysterious site here. Now just on the lower part there are casing stones. The upper part appears to be a totally separate period of building. That is just the way it looks in my mind's eye. But entering this place, they say it's a little weird because when you first go into the passageway in the north side here, it's perfectly cut, and the lower you go, it becomes rough cut. And it says as you enter the main chamber, you can see the first traces of the corbelled roof inside a pyramid. At points in the ceiling, you can see the remnants of wood over 5,000 years old straddling the upper courses. Perhaps this was used to lower the lid into the sarcophagus, and was also used for the workers to climb in and out of the chamber. It says the cut of the courses and the corbelling is rough, yet it is still a thrilling impact when you first see this. The floor bears traces of a space that was possibly once occupied by a sarcophagus, but it is not certain that this pyramid was ever completed or that any king was ever buried here. And that is very rough cut, but it is reminiscent of other ceilings we see inside of other impressive pyramids, so that just adds to the mystery. Was somebody trying to copy something that was done perfectly way before this place was ever done, or was this just never finished? And here's the top of that corbelled ceiling with the cedar, 5,000-year-old cedar. This probably came from maybe up in Lebanon, maybe, but here, stretching across the top of the corbelled ceiling area, the gallery, if you will. Now here's a comparison down on the bottom, the proposed height of what they say was a pyramid here, and I really doubt that a lot, but that is a comparison compared to the pyramid of Khufu here, the Great Pyramid. That's the size of the Great Pyramid, and here's what we have left down at Meidum. Now, who built this? And a little bit of the history here. It says, the mysteries of Egypt are many, and the pyramid at Meidum is no exception. 5 miles south of Saqqara stands the tower-like pyramid of Meidum, which scarcely resembles a typical pyramid at all. The remains of the tower-like core rise from what appears to be little more than a pile of sand. The pile is actually composed of pulverized pieces of the original structure of the pyramid. Now, during my Egypt Pyramid series, it was very interesting how they link some of the pharaohs to these structures here. It says, this pyramid was probably built during the reign of the 4th dynasty king named Sneferu. It is believed by some that the pyramid may have been started by Seneferu's predecessor, Huni. And Huni is a guy that I mentioned a lot in my pyramid series. It seems whenever there was a small pyramid that seemed pretty ancient and mysterious, they credit it to Huni. Why? Because he has no pyramid credited to him. That's the kind of logic they used. Just because he doesn't have a pyramid, they just throw his name out there with as many as 6 or 7 small pyramids, Huni. But it says, since Sneferu goes on to build 3 more pyramids, 2 at another site called Dashur, and 1 small one at Sela, and that is also attributed to Huni right here. That's one of those unfinished ones that I talked a lot about. It says, the mystery only deepens. Could Sneferu have been the pharaoh of 4 pyramids? Somewhere in its history, this pyramid suffered a terrible collapse. Or did it? It says, the theories of its demise vary. Some say the pyramid was never finished and collapsed during its construction. This theory is primarily perpetuated because of the unfinished stela at the temple near the pyramid. It is assumed that because of the stela was uninscribed, that the construction was never completed to begin with. Also, the burial chamber within the pyramid appears to be roughly hewn. Says a graffito from a much later era, the 18th dynasty, identifies the temple of the pyramid as being the temple of King Sneferu. So pharaohs of the 18th dynasty were calling this the temple of Sneferu. But what about this bottom original structure? And I guess Sneferu was attached to this place because some of his sons were buried in little mortuary structures nearby. But appears simply to be 2 different periods of construction to me. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Now, the 18th dynasty, the powerful, famous 18th dynasty, they were certainly here. It says, nevertheless, the temple appears to have a profound effect on later visitors, as various graffiti shows. Dating mainly from the 18th dynasty, some of the writers praise the temple. They say, to see the marvelous temple of Horus Sneferu, he saw it as if heaven were in it, and in it the sun rose. That's probably because this thing was perfectly aligned to the east, and the sun on the spring equinox probably shone into this temple, or was meant to. So the general story here is maybe Huni started this, and then his son Sneferu finished what Huni started, and then Huni, of course, Huni later went on to found Huni and the Blowfish, but his son Sneferu, it is theorized, no, I just made that up, but his son Sneferu completed this pyramid, and then it was a true pyramid, and then it collapsed, but lessons were learned, and then Sneferu went on to build 2 more pyramids at Dashur. One, the bent pyramid, they theorized, the Egyptologists, that was stopped in mid-completion to change the angle. I thought he already learned lessons here at Meidum. It's all very confusing. Here is the descending passage, same angle as the ramps in the unfinished pyramid and descending passages in the Great Pyramid. Here is the so-called burial chamber angled to the west, exactly like in the unfinished pyramids. Was there a water function to those? No, this is all symbolic of the afterlife. The so-called burial chamber angled to the west, the land of the dead. The west side of the Nile, the land of the dead. And also mentioned here, I have talked about the worship at Giza, going from Anubis to Osiris around 4,000 years ago. And when that exactly happened seems to be at the start of the 5th dynasty, but it says, in addition, the actual significance of the alteration of the structure during the stage E3 has not been fully explained. The monument's step-shaped form was abandoned in favor of a true pyramid formed and the north-south orientation in favor of an east-west orientation. This seems to reflect an important shift in the religious ideas that occurred during the transition from the 3rd to the 4th dynasty. And actually, I think it happened just a little bit later. Ricky believed that this to be the time that the Osiris myth was incorporated into the worship of the dead king. The king became identified with Osiris and with Orion. He ruled over the chaos in the sky as well as the earth. The ruler of the netherworld, and his death became a mythical event. However, according to another interpretation, the change in the tomb's formation and orientation was connected with the decline of the astral religion and the rise of the solar religion. Do they have that backwards? I'm not sure. But it says, similarly, German Egyptologist Dietrich Wildung argued that the pyramid complex in Meidum was a predecessor of the later Sun temples of the 5th dynasty, and they were up at Abu Ghraib between Abu Sir and Zayat al-Aryan. But the pyramid here isn't the only mystery for sure at Meidum. We have other things that appear to be buried. We have some shafts cut in the earth just to the west of the pyramid structure here. You can see them right here. And Flinders Petrie, when he was here over 100 years ago, said these appeared to be shafts cut in the earth as tombs, meant for the desert sand to cover up over time. And as you can see here, going up to the north, there appears to be an ancient causeway coming up to a very ancient Mastaba type structure here. And there appears to be a small temple in front of that. And then also right next to the pyramid, we have what is called Mastaba number 17. And this place appears to be very mysterious. Let's just read about that for a sec. Now, this is a paper written by Keith Hamilton, and I know Matt at Ancient Architects has used Keith's work before, and I find it to be excellent, and I will leave the link below, and also where to find some of his other stuff. But it says here, Mastaba 17 at Meidum, a layman's guide, and I use this in my Egypt Pyramid series video. Now, the first thing you notice here is the northwest corner here. It appears to be down a little from the surrounding area, but let's just take a look real quick. Now here's a drawing Flinders Petrie did. The corner of this mastaba. Does this appear to be built inside of a shaft cut in the earth? That's just the way it looks to me. But there appears to be a core and then a later mud brick and other materials put on the outside of this structure here. This ancient mastaba and tombs even cut into the mud brick here. And here's the outside of this, and there appears to be some huge flat stones piled on top of each other to make some sort of base, and that's reminiscent of what's up at Giza. Huge stones here. Here's a pic of the total structure. You can see the tombs cut actually into the structure, and here is some what appears to be more modern stonework on top, a totally different color. And when they were doing excavation here at this mastaba, here is a pic from Flinders Petrie when they were trying to get down inside of the core of this place. Here's the pic. Now here's the way Petrie describes it. He says, the Great Mastaba, number 17, is the largest known, except for that at Nefermat. It was certainly by far the best built mastaba in Egypt, and it is the earliest private stone tomb known, and contains the oldest stone coffin. The chamber is far grander than that of the pyramid of Seneferu. But getting through here was almost impossible, but here is what was at the end of the mastaba, a huge uninscribed sarcophagus coming down through passageways here, and I guess part of this was blocked up with huge blocks and debris. And here's a look inside of one of the passages, just over who knows how many eons of time. This was just all blocked up. But here you look at some shafts and tunnels in here. Vertical shaft right here going down. Would you want to crawl into this dark place? I don't know. And then finally you get down here. Are they tunneling through the natural mound here, or are these huge blocks that they're going through? I guess I can't really tell. And then once you get into this tunnel here, these blocks appear to be finely done. Here is a look inside the corridor, and there's massive stone blocks in here. And then here is what they say is a robber's entrance into this chamber down here. But finally, when they got to the end here, there was just an uninscribed sarcophagus with a lid here. Appears to be very well done. Now, what did they find in here? Let's take a look. Here is a diagram with the dimensions of what they say is a sarcophagus down here. But in this sarcophagus, remains were found by a Wainwright reports on them here. And let's just look at a few pics. Now, was this body original to the sarcophagus? That is the very first question I bring up or I think about. But in this sarcophagus, there was a body found that was not wrapped like Egyptian mummies, but it was wrapped, and it seemed each individual bone was wrapped, and it was found with some vegetable matter and some other strange stuff, but I will leave this full link below so you can read it if you want to. But this does not appear like Egyptian mummies appear whatsoever. Now, I'm not a forensic expert. Is this strange at all? Well, it doesn't appear to be mummified the way Egyptian mummies were mummified at all. And I guess when Flinders Petrie was traveling with this skull, it just disintegrated into nothing, into dust. But those are some pretty fascinating black and white pics. Was this body interred after the fact, well after the fact, when they repurposed, maybe some later culture repurposed a very old original place into a tomb for this person? Well, these are all questions I ask. But this video is getting on here, and I think I'm going to end it here. I'd appreciate your comments. The reason why this place is such a mystery is there are so many unanswered questions. It's as simple as that. But that's a look at the Meidum Pyramid and the nearby Mastaba number 17. So many unanswered questions. The attachment we get to pharaohs is based on just circumstantial evidence. There's nothing solid. Was there 2 periods of building here? That's the way it appears to me. But these 2 places and the whole site here, very mysterious. Hope you thought this was cool, and you all have a very nice day.